the data types are handled, variables, data types, and how to work with them, and how to create a TypeScript program, translate into JavaScript, the process of transcompiling and using in our HTML pages. I hope you all started this practicing and you don't have any issues in this approach. Am I right? You started designing this. So I hope everyone started practicing this. Yeah. Yeah. Notes. Today I will share you a classroom link. So there you can get the daily updated class notes. Okay. All right. And last session we discussed about TypeScript language basics. So that is variables, data types. In data types, we learned about the primitive types, and some changes in non-primitive types, some changes in the non-primitive types. So technically, what are the non-primitive types and how we can use them, right? Yeah, so who is this Lingaraj? So actually what you people generally do is basic point I will tell you. Majority of people while practicing, you will write the program. That means some LET. So hello, right? And suppose message is a string type and equal to hello, and we are printing like console.log, so that message. And majority what you people do is, so when you are doing this, after writing the program, majority, sometimes you people don't save the file. Actually, you don't save the file. That means you see at the top in the index page, you can observe at the top of index page, you see a dot is there. Index.ts dot is there in the tab. That indicates that it is not saved. Without saving, you people, what you do is generally you compile it tsc index.ts. You transcompile it without saving. And after transcompiling, you will come to the JS file and say that it is not working for me. Am I right? Right. Right. So the point is you need to save the file. And so technically, what I mean is you have to see it. Anupam, you don't need to care about others. You just care about yourself. That's enough. Don't show overexcitement in this. Okay. So don't be overexcited in this. And you just talk about what you are up to. Okay. That's great. Right. Let's continue that. Right. Now, after understanding how we can work with the data types and use the primitive types, the next point is how we can work with the non-primitive types. What are the non-primitive types? Generally, what are the non-primitive types in your JavaScript? The non-primitive types in JavaScript, what are the non-primitive types available? So the non-primitive types available in JavaScript, you have an array type. So we have an object type. So generally we configure the regular expression type. The basic non-primitive types are these array, objects, and regular expressions. Right. I'm talking about the non-primitive types in JavaScript, not Java. Okay, right. So technically, the basic non-primitive types: array, object, and regular expression. So here, some changes, some concepts changes varies. Actually, in JavaScript, I hope you have learned. Let's see what is array. I hope you already learned about array. So in JavaScript, array can store any type of value. Am I right? Any type of value. You might have learned that. It's not like several programming languages where array is similar type of values. So array is used for various types of values. In JavaScript, you might have learned that. Actually, so here we have two techniques. So in TypeScript array, two behaviors are there. So you can configure for different type of values, or you can configure for similar type of values. So it has both behaviors. generally in JavaScript, usually what happens is in JavaScript, so when you are working with, so JavaScript have the ability of handling different types of values in array. It will not have any restriction for similar type values. But in TypeScript, it is different. You see here, I am declaring some values and it is an array. If you want the array to handle different types of values, then we can configure as any type. And in that any type, it is an array. Then you have to define with a meta character. And is equal, actually, so this is values is multiple. That means it is a array. That means any type of array, and is equal to, we allocate the memory for that. Generally, if I don't define that, suppose I said values, so it is a string type array, and you can define some values into it, configure the values. Generally, declaring the arrays in JavaScript, how do you do is just values is equal to some array meta character and some other values. So like new array. These are the two array declaration techniques you have in JavaScript actually. So in that case, you might have learned the difference between meta character and constructor. You learned what is difference between array meta character and constructor. That means what is difference between array meta character and array constructor. What do you say? What is difference between them? What is difference between them? Yep. So what is difference between array meta character and array constructor? Right. So the array meta character, array constructor, this is a very frequently asked question. So what is difference between them? Because both are used for configuring an array. I'm looking at your answers. Meta character, we can declare its size. Okay, good. Reference and address. Okay. And object will be created for constructor. Index. Yeah. So let me keep it in a clean way for you to understand. Actually, remember in TypeScript, when you declare values and configure the values. Yeah, I will tell you detailedly. I will tell you. Don't worry. See, okay, I saw your answers and I understood what you know about the difference. I will tell you the correct point so that you can understand. See, we are creating LET. So values. Values is a string type array. And here we can store only string type of values because we restricted to string type. We can also use union type. That means you can say a pipe symbol and a number. That means values can handle either all string type or all number type. It doesn't mean that it can handle one string and one number. Understood? Right? So that means either all must be string type or all must be number type. It will allow both strings and numbers. That is restricting array to similar type. If you want different type, then you can use any array. Then it can allow numbers, it can allow string, it can allow boolean. So if an array is designed to accept any type of value, array is designed to accept any type of value. So that means when you configured with any type of value, then we call it as a tuple. Tuple. In many interviews, they ask this question, what is a tuple? So tuple is an array with a collection of different types of values. So generally, if an array allows different types of values, then we configure that as a tuple. So we call it as a tuple. So JavaScript cannot restrict to similar type of values, but TypeScript have both behaviors. It can allow different types of values and it can allow similar type of values. So that is the first thing you should know. So it can configure values for different types, LET, values, so any type array. It will be any type. Similar type means LET, values, specific data type. So that means it will allow only that particular data type. You can use union of types also. That is the first thing you need to understand, that TypeScript allows these two. Second point, another point is what is difference between how you initialize memory? What is difference between array meta character and array constructor? Difference between these two. Actually, if I give any type and is equal to I want to initialize values into it. To initialize values, we are giving a square brace. To initialize the values, we are giving a square brace. And that means meta character. Now, tell me here, can I initialize different types of values here? Can I initialize different types of values here? Can I initialize different types of values? Yes. So we have 10. So we have true. So we have A. We can initialize. But observe carefully. If I define array constructor will not allow to initialize different types of values, even if the data type is any. Array constructor will not allow to initialize. Remember the terms what I am speaking. Initialize. That means I am talking about only initializing, not assigning. Okay. So array constructor will not allow to initialize different types of values, even the data type is any. Then you may ask, like, then what will be the type of value I can store inside it? The type of value I can store inside it depends on the first value type. Suppose the first value type is string, then I cannot store a number inside it. You can see it's not allowed. That means according to the first value type, automatically it will fix the data type as string type. So fix the data type as string type. That means now based on the first value that you initialized into memory, so the array data type will be fixed as string. That means all must be string. All must be string. Suppose if the first value is number, then all must be number only. A string is not allowed. So this is the difference between array meta character and array constructor. Remember, this is only about initialization. This is about only initialization, not rendering or assigning. It is only about initialization. So if I just declare memory, after that I am using values of 0 is equal to 10. That means what is the first data type? What is the first value data type? The first value data type is number. Then I used here values of 1 and I put some string. It is allowed. So you don't have any problem. It is allowed. So only initialization is not allowed. That means if you want to initialize similar type of values, so then you can create strongly typed array, or you can create an array allocating the memory with array constructor. It will create an array object. That object will decide the data type of values based on the first value configured. That means generally in real world environment, many times we are expecting some collection, but initially we don't know what type of collection is coming. Is it string? Is it number? Then what we do is we declare any type. And once the value comes, first value comes, then we decide that, okay, all will be number, all will be string. For that kind of situation, this will be very helpful. But remember, this is only while initializing array. Only while initializing the array, not for assigning, not for rendering, or not for assigning. So it is only initialization of values. I hope everyone understood the difference. Is it clear? So that means what is difference between array meta character and array constructor? So now tell me, what is a tuple? What is a tuple? What is a tuple? What is a tuple? So tuple is a collection of various types of values. Understood? Simple. It is a collection of various types of values, right? So is a collection of various types of values, right? It's an array of various types of values. It's a collection of various types of values, different types of values. Yeah, that is good. That is the point. So rest of everything is same. Declaring array, reading the values from the array, configuring the array, everything is same. And I hope you have learned so array methods. So TypeScript methods, all are same as JavaScript array methods. JavaScript array methods, all are same as JavaScript array methods. All are JavaScript array methods. That means I hope you have learned how to manipulate the array. That means adding elements into array, add elements into array. So remove elements from array. So sort elements in array. So and search for element in array. That means you have learned about the commands like find, like filter, right? You have learned about all array manipulations, array related methods in JavaScript. And all array methods are same here. All array methods are same here. But while compiling, one problem will come. I will show you that. Actually, suppose, so we have let. Suppose I given as sales is a number type array. In that we have some sales. So 45,000, some 46,000, 32,000, and 23,000. So I need to extract and print all the sales which are less than 40,000. I want to print all of them. That means we have these all values. I want to extract the sales less than 40,000, all sales. Then technically, how we can define, how we can work. So how we can define and how we can work with this, how we can extract all the sales. So that is less than 30,000. So generally what you have learned in JavaScript, how we can do that, how to extract only the sales that are less than 40,000, like condition, based on a condition. What you have learned in JavaScript, how we can do. Yeah. So generally we can use the methods of array like find and filter. Find will get the first value that matches the condition. Filter will return all the values. That means generally what we have to do is we have to write, so let result is a number type, and we use sales dot find command. Actually find uses a callback function. This callback function will read every value. It will read every value and it will return the value some less than 40,000. Less than 40,000. So that means now find command is an array method. It is an array method. Find is an array method. It uses a callback function. That function will read every value from array and verify whether the value is matching this condition or not. And it will return the first occurrence value that is matching the condition. That means, so in this array, the first one that is matching the condition is this 32,000. So it will get that and it will store in this. After that, it will stop. Find will not continue. Find is going to find only the first occurrence value. So after writing this program to test immediately without integrating into HTML, what you can do is you can use console commands. So console.log. Don't use document write alert. Why? Because if you write document write alerts and all, DOM, then you have to test in HTML only. But if you write this in console log, then you can test in the command line in the terminal itself directly. So console log, so I'm displaying result is equal to whatever the result, that is the result whatever came here. How to compile and run this? How do we compile and run this? So go to the terminal here, in the terminal, or in the terminal directly you can run here. So in the terminal, what you have to do is you have to type tsc index.ts. It is transcompiled. After transcompiling, you see one error came. Error is nothing but it is saying that I am unable to find this find command, and this find command is not there. Actually, find command is a latest one added from JavaScript ES 215 onwards. That means ES 5 onwards. From ES 5 onwards, so this new option is available. That means ECMA 2015 version of JavaScript onwards, this find is available. Now it is saying that other versions cannot understand this find command. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, we can continue because our TypeScript is capable of understanding all the latest of JavaScript. It is just a warning actually. It's not error. So it shows like an error because debugger don't know that our TypeScript can understand latest version. It doesn't matter. How to prevent those errors, I will tell you in Angular. That means in Angular, what you can do is we can tell TypeScript to use which version of JavaScript. In that case, then there will be no problem in understanding. So as of now, doesn't matter. Why? Because it is simply saying that is it find a new option, because I don't know this option because it is a latest one actually. And in that case, it doesn't matter. Even it is having error, you run the program. How to run the JavaScript programs? So to run JavaScript programs directly from command line, you can use a compiler called Node compiler. This Node compiler can directly run JavaScript programs without any HTML. Actually, if you have HTML, technically if you have HTML, then generally you have to integrate this file into HTML and how we can manage that and use it, right? So generally, when we have to integrate and test it, if it is not having any HTML manipulations, you write a JavaScript program, directly compile the JavaScript program and run it. Compile JavaScript program and run it. So what we need to do here is we need to just use a Node compiler, Node, and you can simply write here as index.js. Remember, here also sometimes you will be very much confused in the beginning level. What you do is, remember, TSC is only for which kind of files? So TSC is only for TypeScript files. Understood? That means your file must have extension .ts. And node compiler is for which file? Node compiler is for JS file. Sometimes you accidentally try to use TS in node compiler and it will show error. So once be careful in compiling and checking the extension, which one you are using. Node compiler for JavaScript file and TypeScript compiler for the TypeScript file. Okay, now when I run this, you can see now it is going to display the result. The result is 32,000. To make it more convenient for your visibilities, you can also open this folder, right click on that SRC folder, open in Explorer, reveal in File Explorer. And here you can open the command prompt CMD. That is the command prompt. You know how to open your folders in command prompt. So in this, we have SRC folder. In this SRC folder, you can try compiling here. So that means TSC, that is index.ts. Okay. After that, node index.js. You can see the output comes here. So find command is a new command. That is the reason it is just showing you a warning saying that compiler option should be 215 or later. Then I can understand. That's okay. Our compiler supports all versions, so no problem. You can directly run this and see. So this is the point, find. And of course, you have learned these functions in JavaScript and jQuery. So in JavaScript, you have already learned. So if I want to get all results, what I can do to get all results, I can use the same by using filter command. By using the filter command, I can use the same by using the filter command. But filter command is going to return multiple values. So this must be an array, number array. And I will put that result and display here now. Result is just an array. So now one more time compile here. So TSC index.ts, it's compiled successfully. Now it will not show any error because filter is an old option. Filter is there from older versions of JavaScript also. So no problem. So now I said node index.js, it will show all the results. That is what generally you might have learned in your JavaScript. So how we can use all the array methods. So array related methods and functions, everything what you learned in JavaScript is exactly the same way. So manipulating arrays, working with arrays will be no change except and tuple combinations. Rest of all options are same. There is no change in array and in JavaScript. That's the reason you need to be strong in working with arrays, because later in Angular or React or any technology in the front end, when you are dealing with user interface, and in the user interface, if you have to deal with the data, majority will be array only. And in many interviews, they ask you one question related to array. Several may be asked related to different methods to you, but one is very popular. What is array map? Array have a map method. What is the purpose of array map? Any idea? What is the purpose of array map method? What is the purpose of array map method? Any idea? So that is also an array method only, na? That is also an array method only, right? Right. I am not talking about individual maps. I am talking about array map. Understood? I'm not talking about individual map. I'm talking about array map. Right? Array map. Actually, this map is an iterator. Map is an iterator. And what is the purpose of iterator is it reads every element from a collection in sequential order. It and presents. So it is used to read every element from a collection in sequential order and present. That is the map. Actually, in JavaScript, we have a separate data structure map. So map, which is a key value collection. So, but here I am talking about array map method, which is very important in future when you are dealing with arrays. So it is an iterator. Generally, if I want to read all the values from an array, I hope you know that you can use for loop. So we can use for in, you can use for off. Have you learned all these, right? So for in is used to read what all. For in is used to read all properties of array. Understood? And for off is used to read all values of array. All values of array. So if you want to read all properties, generally array properties means in your terms that is index number, like 0, like 1, that is the index number. So array property index number, it is used to read every index. And for off is used to read every value. Instead of that, you can just use a map method for handling it. For example, suppose I have let categories is equal, categories is a string type array. In that I'm storing some electronics. So some like footwear, some like fashion, all this. And I want to read all the properties. Then we can use for where item or say, so property in operator categories. In operator is used to read every property, and console.log, I am printing the property. So then you can observe that property means it will read the index numbers, transcompile first and run it. And you can see it returns 0, 1, 2. These are the properties. And if you want to read values, then you can just use off operator. Off operator is used to read every value from the collection. You can see, you can use values. Off operator is used to read all the values. Only values. Actually, I hope you have learned that. So generally, we can use in operator to read the property, and along with the property, if I want, I can print the value also. So we write like this actually. In the square brace, I am writing here property and hyphen and again expression. Here I will give categories, that is array of property. That is important. And this, when I compile and run now, you can see compile and run this. It is going to print both properties and values. These are all general things, and I hope you are all familiar with this. I am just brushing up your array skills because this is the major area you have to use in Angular while working with Angular and data in Angular. So you need to be very strong in dealing with arrays and objects. So otherwise you cannot handle the presentations in Angular. So in TypeScript especially, you need to be very strong in handling and working with arrays. And if you have learned all the array methods and array functions and array techniques, that's very helpful and very easy for you to deal with the Angular applications. And I hope people with JavaScript already know about all this. For loops you can use for in, you can use for off. Now what map can do is actually, So you see here, I'm using simply here categories dot map. Map uses a callback function. This callback function will get every value from array, and you can print that value console.log. So we can print that value, and we can print that value in a different way. So in HTML, ordered list, unordered list, like that. Now you can see map uses that technique. When I'm accessing that, you can see that map is going to read all the values. Actually, map is an iterator. Array map is an iterator which is used for reading and handling all the values. And I hope you are all familiar with all these options and also array map, because this plays the key role in advanced user interface to read the values from array, to handle the interactions with array. These advanced options are very important for us. So that is the map, concept of map. And one more point, I hope you all people are aware of array destruction. Aware of array destruction? Destructing an array. Are you aware of array destruction? In JavaScript, I hope you have learned about array destructing also, because again, this plays the key role in our advanced generation. Destructing array, deconstructing array, not destroying array. Understood? It is not destroying the array, deconstructing the array, destructing. So actually, what is, if you have learned, you know it, then it's very good. So otherwise, just take a glance here. Suppose, so we have the categories, and it has some categories. Now, suppose in this, suppose let's give a detail option like this. LET topics is a string type array. String type array. In that array, first topic, so it is a markup language. So it defines styles to HTML. These are two string values present inside the array. Now our intention is to extract them and use them separately. To extract those two values and use them separately, individually, in that case, what we have to do, generally what we do is, we declare a variable HTML. And how we can get the first value and store? We just use topics of 0. That will get the first value and store. Similarly, CSS. This gets topics of 1. It will get the second value. That means var. So CSS. Am I right? What do you say? Yeah. Do you know any another technique of doing this in a simple way? Do you know any another technique of doing this in a simple way? That means declaring two variables and storing these two values into those two variables. Do you know any another technique of doing this? And if you know that, that technique is deconstructing, destructing array. And destructing array is nothing but, no need to do like this. Simply, what you have to do is declare a variable, and in that variable, define multiple variables in a square brace. One variable HTML, another variable CSS. These variables will hold the values of the array. Topics is an array. That's it. That means in this topics array, whatever the first index is there, it will be stored in first reference. Second index will be stored in the second reference. I hope you have learned this in array concept. Array constructing, array destructing, object constructing, object destructing. So not destroying, right? extracting it and using it. So generally, if it is a variable, how you access variable? How you access variable here? Very simple. So console.log and HTML, it will get HTML. That means, so I'm configuring that. So here I'm accessing that, and it should get that HTML and display. That means, so it should access and display. And CSS, it will be CSS. And if I defined here something JS, now what will be the value of JS? What will be the value of JS? What will be the value of JS? So the value of JS will be undefined, not null. I hope you have learned that if value is not defined during the compile time, and it will keep it undefined. Am I right? That means during the runtime, if value is not defined, that means through prompt or through text box such you are sending values, then it will return null. But you are initializing at the compile time, it will initialize with undefined actually. I hope that is the basic thing you have understood, the difference between null and undefined in JavaScript. This is deconstructing of array. So that is another new concept from ES5 onwards in JavaScript, which you have to know. I hope you understood this point. Is it clear? All right. And rest of other options related to arrays, everything is same, no change. And next option, we have object type. And I hope you learned about object also. So actually, so object type, we don't have a special data type actually. Suppose product is an object. In old versions of TypeScript, we don't have any special data type for that. But in the latest version, that means TypeScript 4 onwards, from TypeScript 4 onwards, because companies sometimes still may be using TypeScript 3, which is the older version. TypeScript 4 is the new one. From TypeScript 4 onwards, they introduced a data type called object. And you know that object types are defined with properties and methods, properties and methods in a curly brace, right? In a block. And properties contain property and it contains a value. So name, that means name is some Nike casuals like this. Multiple properties are separated with a comma. So then price is some price. You define this. And some stock is some, you can store any type of value. You know that. You can store an array inside it, object inside it. An object can contain this. And generally, in older versions of TypeScript, we don't have this object type. That is the reason, even today, in several tutorials of TypeScript, you will see very rarely people using object type for object. You will see majority everybody using any only for object. But the latest versions support this object. Several debuggers don't know this yet. They may be updated later, but they don't know this object type yet. But still, we know that it is the latest option available. See, so I'm writing console.log. I want to print the details. Name is equal to, how we can access the name? Product dot name property. And similarly, in the next line, so price is equal to, so product dot price. You know that the members are accessible by invoking with the dot operator. Stock is equal to, so product dot stock. We are just accessing the properties and using them. Accessing the properties and using them. And see the warning here. The warning says that this name so doesn't exist on object type. Doesn't exist on object type because so object type is a very latest one, and it is not understandable to even debuggers that are using TypeScript. So they need to update, but we know that it is changed. So then we can try this. Even it shows error, forcibly run this. You see, when I forcibly run this, tsc index.ts, it shows errors. Error saying that name is not a property, price is not a property, stock is not a property, because it says that I don't know this object at all. But we know that that is a new option and available. Don't worry, you just compile node. So that index.js, you run this and you see it's working fine. Only the point is several debuggers still don't understand this latest feature of TypeScript, and even people who know already TypeScript, they also don't know about this object type. So if they have learned the older versions of TypeScript, so even in any tutorials also, you will very rarely find object type is defined in, because all are published so many days back. But this is the new type. What others will show you is, so you can define this as any type, then it will not show any problem. It will not show any error. Object is configured as an any type. It will not show any error. You compile that, it is not showing any errors now, because that is how it understands earlier. So, but we know that even it shows errors, we can compile and run that and see it's working for us. So earlier objects are defined with an object type, any type. Now in the latest, you can configure as an object type. So rest of working with object, configuring the methods inside the object, everything is same. I hope you know rest of all options about object, right? Yeah. So that is generally what is an object type, array type, and there is no change in your JavaScript and TypeScript. Only the point is the type of data type you configure for that object. And of course, if I define so let, so values, and this values is an any type, if it is an any type array, and in that we define so like this. I hope, what do you call this as? It is an array of, you know this, right? It is an array of, so it is an array of objects, array of objects. And this also represents a tuple, because so tuple, because it contains different types of values. Yeah. And you know how to configure, how to handle this array of objects also. You have learned that, right? So for that, we don't have any so specific type. So we will not use any object for that, because it can handle different types of values in an object. So always we configure as an any type. When you are declaring array of objects, we use any type. So that is generally how we can deal with arrays and how we can deal with objects. There is no change, and whatever changes are there, I explained here. So, and regular expression also no change. But for regular expression, we don't have a data type. Generally, regular expression is defined with an any type only, regular expression. And how to write regular expressions? Regular expressions are enclosed in. So you know that, right? Regular expressions are enclosed in. Square brace is for array. Curly brace is for object. For regular expression, what you do? How do you write regular expression in JavaScript? How do you write regular expression in JavaScript? Regular expressions are enclosed in double slash. Am I right? Regular expressions are enclosed in double slash. They are enclosed in double slash. And you know regular expressions. Suppose a-z10. You have learned how to write regular expressions in HTML and JavaScript. And if I want to verify, so let value. So value is a string type, and this is like some John. If I want to verify my value with regular expression, which method I have to use? if I have to verify my value with regular expression, which method I have to use? Which string method I have to use to verify the value with regular expression? Which string method I have to use to verify the value with regular expression? We have to use value dot match method, match method to verify with regular expression. The match method is used for verifying with the regular expression. So regular expression is verified. So by using the match method, it returns Boolean true or false. That is a string method, which is used for verifying whether your value is matching the regular expression or not. So this is also same, no change. Only the point is data type, you don't have any predefined type. You configure as an any type. So all these are same like your JavaScript. So no need to spend much time on that. Just I refreshed any changes there. I told you about that. And one more point, you know how to handle dates also. To handle date type, again, we don't have any data type. What you do is, suppose I have to write, so manufactured, MFD. And if it is date, then you have to use any type. Any is used for date also. And you know that date values are stored by using a date constructor, by using date object. And in the date constructor, date values are defined in year, month, day format, year, month, day format, year, month, day format. And I hope you have learned all the methods for reading the dates and working with the dates. Am I right? So get hours, get minutes, so get seconds, right? Get seconds, so get date, get day, get all this. You have learned even set hours, set minutes, set date. These are for manipulating the dates. And data type is not any special data type. Any is used for date also. So this is all the data types that you have learned in TypeScript. So and primitive types, you have separate, and array and object and regular expression and dates. You can configure with any type, or you can configure with a specific type when you are dealing with the arrays. So these options are same. There is no change in them. So working with the dates, manipulating the dates and date functions, all are similar. No change. Only the point, data type, we don't have any special data type. We use any for date also, right? So next important, so we have variables seen, data types we have seen now. Operators also no change. All JavaScript operators, no change, nothing new. All JavaScript operators are same here. So comparison operators, relational operators, logical operators, conditional operators, whatever you say, arithmetic operators. So binary operators, bitwise, right? All the operators are same. There is no change in operators. Everything, whatever you use in JavaScript, the same are used in TypeScript also. Operators also same. Statements also same. Statements also no change. That means selection statements, iteration statements, jump statements, all these options are same as JavaScript, no change. That means if else switch case, for while, do while, all these options are similar, no change. So in TypeScript, there is nothing change in this. So variables, data types, operators, and statements, these are all the language basics. So general language basics, which you already have in your JavaScript also. I showed you some new things, any concept you have to understand new about them, I told you. I hope everyone is clear with this. Variables, data types, operators, and statements. Everyone is clear with that, right? Good. So what is the major concept and how we can handle that different in from your JavaScript is actually the TypeScript object oriented programming. This is where you will find so some new concepts. So technically, so JavaScript also supports certain features of object-oriented programming, but not all. TypeScript supports so the complete object-oriented programming approach. So I will give you a glance of object-oriented programming in TypeScript. What is there in OOP concepts? The first thing you need to understand is about contracts. Contracts in object-oriented programming. Contracts in object-oriented programming. How you define the contracts, how you configure. The first thing you have to know in OOP is the contracts. So what is a contract and how you configure a contract? Let's see one simple example. So, and that's how technically you need to understand. For example, suppose, so we are working for a project, suppose, so bank application. So we are working for a bank application. And for this bank application to manage the data, now as a developer, you are given the role of prepare database. That means prepare database for that bank application. Now to prepare database for that bank application, so according to the client requirements, you have to design. So that means you cannot do anything by your own. According to the client requirements, you have to design it. Now, in preparing database, do you know what is the reference for creating database? That means as a developer, to create a database and tables, what is the reference given to me so that I can see that and I can design database? Can you tell what is the reference given to me? What is the reference given to me? I will give you a hint. Reference is a model is given to you. Reference means a model is given to you. Now understood? Reference means a model is given to you. A model is given to you. What do you call that model as? Don't know. So let's see. Actually, do you know how we prepare the database in real world environment? To prepare database, what is the step-by-step process? I will tell you. Actually, to prepare database, so we have to follow 4 phases actually. We have conceptual model. We have physical model. So we have logical model, and we have entity model. These are the 4 models, and there will be certain order. That means in order to prepare database for a project, for any application, it's not like simply you design with an imagination. So you have to follow certain rules, certain standards. In real world projects, you can't be on your own. You have to design as per the standards, as per the rules actually. You cannot violate them. The point is, conceptual model means first we design conceptual model. Conceptual model means in this model, we will identify what are the modules in bank application that needs data. That means in the first stage, we identify bank application have several modules. In those modules, which module needs data? That is the first stage. So our developers will identify which module is in bank application requires data. Which module in bank application requires data. So that is the first thing. So technically, first we prepare conceptual model. I will show you any conceptual model. Just an example here. I will show you a conceptual model. Okay. Means some sample project related conceptual model. Okay. Let me open that location here. Template documents, template. So, okay. This is a sample project related. So sample project related conceptual. This is conceptual model. This is how conceptual model looks like. This is how the conceptual model looks like. Just roughly. Conceptual model means in this, first we decide which module requires data, like consumer sessions, consumer details, login details, merchant details, contact types. First, we decide which module requires data. Generally, what happens, a review team will be there that will review the model that we designed. They will make sure that we are not missing any specific module. They will make sure that we are not using any additional module which is unnecessary. They will check all that. After that, once the conceptual model is ready and it is certified, now our team will prepare the physical model. In this physical model, you see what happens is, this is the physical model. In physical model, we mention the table name, field name, and data type. That means what should be the table name, what fields must be there in the table, and this table belongs to which module, and what data type for the field must be. Everything we decide in physical model. In conceptual model, table name, field names are not decided. Only modules are decided. And now we decide table name, field name, data types, and everything. And again, a review team will review this. They will make sure that we are not mismatching the data types. They will make sure that we are not using any additional fields, unnecessary fields, and they will make sure that we are not missing important field. A review will happen. After that, once our review team says that, okay, this is good, you can go with this now, then we will prepare logical model. In this logical model, we will have table name, field names, and we identify the relationship between the modules. That means configuring relation between the modules. Is login module related to any another module? So is this module, technically, it is responsible for understanding the relationship between the modules. Is there any relation? So in logical model, we configure the relation between the modules. So the point is, again, a review team will review. They will check whether everything is configured correctly. Any relation is not mismatched. All the relations are configured correctly. That's all are defined and specified. Once it is done, then finally, so we will prepare, then finally we will prepare the entity model. In this entity model, we define the table name, field name, data type, relationship, primary key, foreign key relations, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many relations, everything. Finally, this is given to our database designer, who will prepare the tables and the fields and the data according to this entity model. This is what actually the client requirement is. That means in real world applications, you cannot do anything imaginary. You cannot do anything by yourself. So you always have to follow the certain rules. You cannot miss any rule that is configured. That means you can't be on your own. Even to put a color, you have to know that, so for this situation, this color is required. Even to put a color, that that matters in real world projects. Even to put a color, for example, that means colors, font size, we have to follow certain standards. We cannot just put anything like that. For example, this is Amazon. In this Amazon, it is a shopping site. You can see these are the banners, and you can see in these banners, so in these banners you have different colors and backgrounds for the banners, but have you observed, so this particular banner, so that is local shops on Amazon, up to 50% off home shopping deals, it is given with a background yellow, so like a dark orange color, like color. And you see other banners have different colors. Now the point here is why this color is chosen for this concept. Simple point. The concept is actually the color that you see is resembling sunrise and sunset. Am I right? What do you say? It is resembling like sunrise and sunset. That is the color meaning actually. That is actually sunrise and sunset. What do you say? Will you agree? Yeah? Right? It is representing sunrise and sunset like. Okay. In that case, I hope you know that, so sunrise and sunset, the timing of sunrise and sunset will not last long. It will be only for some time. Just in 2-3 minutes, it will be gone. Am I right? Am I right? Short time. That means the meaning of this design says that 50% off is not a long time offer. It is a very short time offer. Understood? That means it's not a long time offer. It is a short time offer. So that is the meaning of even a color given in a website. These are the standards of designing. That means learning HTML, writing HTML code, that's not enough to work for real world environment. In real world environment, you need to understand the business of the client. You need to understand the requirement of the client. You need to understand the situation of that particular client. And accordingly, you have to design even the color, because so in many areas of the world, in many parts of the world, so the colors and the language is an expression. So that tells what it is. That is the reason. So we need to understand that we cannot do everything by ourselves. We have to follow certain standards, certain rules are there. So why we are discussing all this here? The concept here is you cannot design anything without certain standards, without certain rules. In general programming, whenever you are designing a component, every component has to have certain rules. So contract defines rules for designing a component. Contract defines rules for designing a component. And actually, contracts are designed by using interface. That means if anybody asked you like, what is the purpose of interface in object-oriented programming? What is the purpose of interface in object-oriented programming? If anybody asked you that, you may tell stories, whatever you know. So many stories we can hear from the learners of object, but architecturally, so if your interviewer is very expert in programming architectures and he is more than 15-20 years experienced in software architecture and development, he will not be satisfied with your answers that interface is for implementing, interface is for this nonsense, that nonsense. He will not be satisfied with your thing. So whatever you say, abstract, all this. So at a very high level, so at very experienced level, interfaces are used to design contracts. That's straightforward, simple point. Interfaces are used for designing contracts. That means you see here, suppose I am creating here a product. Product is an object, any type, and it is an object. And if it is an any type of object, so if it is an any type of object, product is an any type of object. So here I have name. So in this name, I have like Nike casuals. Okay, it is a string. So in the price, I have defined some price. It is also given as a string. So, but it is taken. So suppose stock, it is a boolean. It is a boolean. I entered some number. So it is taken. That means now there are no rules for designing a component. So our component is not following any rules. In that case, lot of inconsistency will come. Now we want our component to follow certain rules, So we have to design a contract, and the contract is interface. Interfaces are designed by using the keyword interface and any name for the interface. Interface, I will give traditionally I product. So you can give any name. So, but traditionally interfaces will start with the prefix I. We use that. Now, this interface contains the rules for the contract. Rules means what you want for product. I want name. Okay, good. What type of data it should handle? I want it to handle string. That's good. And remember, interface defines the contracts. Contracts means it should contain only rules. It should not contain any values, implementation of them. Implementation should not be here. It should contain only rules. So if I write like TV, it's not valid because contract cannot contain values. It can contain only rules. So it can contain only rules. Okay, what is the next one? Next one is price. What type you want? Number type I want. And what is stock? Stock is Boolean type I want. So I need to keep as Boolean. Now you designed a contract, and in the contract you mentioned what should be the properties. So what should be the properties? And what should be the type for the properties? And you observe here, suppose you have another as quantity. That is also a number type. And now I want my component to follow this contract, to use that contract. Then the product that we designed is not any type. It should use that contract, I product type. If I mentioned the contract type, immediately it will identify the problems in your component. And it says that as per the contract, you are not designing this component. Of course, as per the contract, observe carefully, it says that as per the contract, price is given as a string, but it is a number. As per the contract, stock is a Boolean, but you are sending a number. That means we need to design as per the contract. So here, so I am writing price as number. That's okay now. Price as number, that's okay. Stock as Boolean, that is okay, true or false. But still, it is showing some error. Why it is showing error? Because as per the contract, there should be a quantity also, but your component is not using it. I told you that any field is missing, any field is additionally mentioned. This all will be matter. You observe carefully here. So that means, so technically, you see now the contract, it says that quantity is missing because as per the contract, quantity is required. So I have mentioned that quantity. Now your component is ready and it is not having any issues. Suppose additionally, I added a category as some electronics. So, or some say footwear like this, then it shows error again. Why? Because it says that as per the contract, there is no category. As per the contract, there is no category. So you cannot use this anymore. You cannot use this anymore. So technically, that is the point you need to understand. That means it says that it is already showing here clearly. So that means it is indicating that it is not there. That means the point here is you cannot design anything other than what you have defined in the contract. As per the contract, you have to configure. There are so many things. The contracts, so technically contracts and defined as contracts and options here. Yeah. That means the purpose of contract is to define rules for designing a component. And if anyone asks like how you design contracts are designed by using interface. What is the purpose of interface in object-oriented programming? The purpose of interface in object-oriented programming is to design contracts. And there are so many things about contracts, extending the contracts, optional properties in the contracts, so many points we have to know about the contracts. So I hope you understood the first point. Is it clear to everyone? What is an interface? Right? What is the purpose of an interface? Right? So the purpose of interface is to design contracts. And there are so many things about this interface now. So how we can define optional rules, how we can extend interfaces. So that is the concept. So in any object-oriented programming, the purpose of interface is to design contracts. Right? Technically, that is the key point. That is the simple point. Nothing else. And you have to design as per the contract. You cannot violate the contract terms. So this is the first concept. I hope everyone is clear. Now we will see the rest of other options of interfaces that we will discuss in the next session. Okay. Tomorrow we will continue with that. In tomorrow we will discuss more about interfaces and working with the interfaces, right?